Coming up this weekend, Canada half represent. We have Stony Creek's own Diana Belbita taking on Brazil's Gloria de Paula. And for both of these fighters, it's been a rocky road in the UFC, straight 100%. Up. I mean, for de Paula, there was a lot of hype coming in off Dana White's Contender Series. She was a decent favorite in around a minus 260 when she took on Pauline Machias. And if you go back and watch that fight, her opponent, very, very credentialed wrestler. And Gloria is able to work with some of those takedown attempts and really piece her up on the feet. It was a great performance. Comes into the UFC, takes on Jinyu Fry. Probably thought Jinyu Fry lost a bit of a step. Nope.
Not even like a fighter who belongs in the weight class. So.
No, she's an atomweight, but she was really able to go out there, impose her game plan. And then for Gloria to go out her last fight, take on Cheyenne Vlismas, you figure, okay, Cheyenne has the Taekwondo background. She can wrestle a little bit. Yeah, who knew that she'd turn all that into one in the first round and finish Gloria de Paula? Didn't think that was going to happen. For Diana Belbita, it's been a weird run because she had experience against, UFC level talent outside of the UFC, fought for KSW Flyweight Championship against the Queen of Violence and wasn't on the winning end of that one. So she goes out, she rebuilds herself, takes on a very poor level of competition.
Extremely.
The win that she had before coming into the UFC was over a 1-2 fighter, so you hate to see it. Lose to Molly McCann as a giant underdog at 125 pounds. Lose to Liana Jojua, gets clinched up and then down on the mat, submitted. And then her last time out, she takes on Hannah Goldie in a fight where I wrote Diana Belbita off. I thought she was going to be pretty bad in a matchup like that against Goldie, who really plays the volume game. And I had reservations about Belbita making the move to 115. Diana drops Hannah in the first round. And then after that, it's fairly competitive. It really is. I mean, I thought Hannah Goldie won the third round of that fight going back and watching it. All three judges scored at 30-27. But regardless, Diana Belbita ends up getting her first UFC win. She's the only one of these two fighters that has a UFC win. And I would hazard to guess that a loss for either of these two, you're probably done. Even with that win, you're probably done. So we're going to see what we get for Belbita out of Romania. So I wonder what Sebastian Stan thinks of her performances. But really, when it comes down to this one of the weirdest moves of camps, like to end up from Romania to Stony Creek, Ontario, and then also training out of Muskoka Martial Arts. Like, we're in cottage country with Kyle Nelson.
I was going to say, that'd be like, it's just a very big vibe switch, you'd imagine. But hey, she seems to enjoy it. Ontario, very nice the times I've been.
318,000 Instagram followers as well. My last point for Diana Belbita. But her last time out against Goldie, great knockdown in the first round. But what are you kind of thinking about her skill set?
You're not going to like this, and I don't even like saying this, but hear me out. The best version of her game is kind of like Hinata Moicano. Like the best version. I'm not here to tell you she can submit people like he can, but he's a very upright striker, relies on a lot of 1-2s and long-range attacks. If things go to the mat, I do worry about her quite a bit, but she's in a really interesting group because technically I don't think her jiu-jitsu is awful by any means, but she doesn't seem to be very physically strong in any weight class that she's been in. But I do think that that's an important part with this fight being down to strawweight because at flyweight, especially against Jojua, who's a big flyweight too, she really did get out-muscled in that matchup, and that's why there is a part of me that thinks, okay, we sort of have to throw out Belbita's first two performances in the UFC, and we have to sort of reset our palette to what she looks like at strawweight, because it was an improved version, and I know beating Hannah Goldie doesn't really prove to anybody that, wow, you're a top 15, top 25, much less top 15 fighter, but still, when you need a win and you go out there and you can stop that 2-fight losing streak from becoming a 3-fight losing streak, that's always a positive, but like you said, both these athletes desperately need a win this weekend because for Gloria de Paula, there were a lot of promising skills coming into the UFC. You saw what her ground game was like. You saw the aggression in her strikes and her capability of putting power and volume strikes together. And then we haven't seen that fighter whatsoever in the UFC. And it's been really interesting because against Cheyenne Vlismas, I thought she had a great opportunity to win that fight. Like when you break down both fighters and what their skills are, like, Gloria de Paula, for no reason, should be getting TKO'd a minute into that matchup, but she just makes a lot of mistakes throughout her fights, and especially at the UFC level. So for me, I worry about both fighters, if I'm being completely honest, and what their ceilings are in the UFC. And I guess the last point that I'll give is, you have a 5-4 fighter taking on a 4-16 fighter, and when you break
14-6.
14-16, sorry. Or 14-6, goodness, I struggle with that. My issue with Belbita's record, though, that you had sort of touched on looking at her top 5 is that a lot of her wins are over extremely low levels of competition. And I don't just mean fighters who are like, maybe 4-3. It's like 0-1, 0-0, 1-1 type fighters. And that always concerns me for any fighter who's at the UFC level, but they've sort of built their resume off of those types of fighters.
Well, I mean, it's really interesting if you look at it for Belbita, a former national kickboxing champ over with Romania, and for Gloria de Paula, a very, very good Muay Thai background. So you expect these two to strike. For Belbita, where the strength aspect comes into play, because I do agree with it, at 115, much bigger fighter than Hannah Goldie. Now, Hannah Goldie is a big fighter for that division, but Belbita drops her, ends up really trying to kind of figure it out, don't want to let Goldie really kind of knock loose those cobwebs that she's feeling, so she really puts the pressure on. She's just hammering away long range trying to get the finish. Goes up close to the cage with Goldie with her back to the cage, tries to land a right cross, and Goldie just goes like this and pushes her just a little bit. I'm not joking. And Belbita falls completely down, and then she's in guard. Like, it's bad. Now, Belbita was able to get back up to her feet. After that, the round continues on, but that really does scare me. Not necessarily in this fight, but especially moving on. Like, there's another thing that she does where she throws 1-2, but she throws at a decent volume, but not at a good percentage. And that's another thing that really does scare me. Definitely a negative striker so far in the UFC. The one other thing she does, and you'll see it if you play the UFC video game, so there might be a little bit of parallels. If you stand at distance, or if you're just moving forward and just tap circle on a PlayStation, you throw a naked leg kick that just kind of touches the calf. It does no damage in the video game. Diana Belbita throws a ton of those leg kicks where you drop your hands just a little bit, you pop that leg kick out there just for a different look, but she does it a lot. It worries me. Again, in this fight, moving forward, it worries me quite a bit. So, interested to see this matchup. For Belbita, open a -260 favorite. She's -115 right now. Big mover and shaker is Gloria de Paula, who opened a +220. She's a -106. We have a look at the Tapology votes for this fight. Surprised us there to you. Belbita opened as a decent favorite. The odds are almost at par. I expect them to flip-flop or switch polls, I guess, as the week goes on. So I'm going to say, though, over-under 70% the fans going with Belbita.
I hope it's 50-50. Nope.
Oh boy. 526 total votes, 91% Belbita, 88% have her to win by decision. For the 9% that have De Paula, 78% by decision. So the odds are almost at par from -220 or -260 and +220 to now at par. But over 90% of the fans have Belbita. You going with the fans on this one?
This is kind of like a used car that the UFC is trying to sell us right now, okay? Like, whoever wins this fight is going to get the used car treatment of, well, hey, they just came off a win over Gloria de Paula or Belbita. Like, for me, I don't really care who wins this fight because I don't know what it does for that fighter's career. I shouldn't say I don't care about it. I just won't change my opinion on either fighter based on the result of this matchup, because if Belbita beats Gloria de Paula, will that erase any of our concerns about her not having the deepest or most qualified resume? I wouldn't say it does. And for Gloria de Paula, this would be the best win on her record. I think that's fair to say. And like you said, she does need a win very badly if she wants to stay around in the UFC. I'm going to pick Belbita just because we did see an improved version of her down at strawweight, so I do think that there are the improvements in her game there to be made, and we haven't seen all that much from Gloria de Paula in the UFC up until this point, but I will say this, and you brought it up. What Hannah Goldie was able to do was she showed that you can still outmuscle Belbita. If Gloria de Paula moves forward when Belbita throws one of those naked leg kicks, she might not be able to capitalize on it with her striking with a big power shot, but she might be able to take her down off of that, and if she can get 3 takedowns, rinse and repeat, it's not going to make the fight exciting by any means, but it might be able to get her the win.
Belbita is a tricky fighter. Gloria de Paula hasn't even earned a takedown since she's been with the UFC, so that is a very, very tough ask, but again, in terms of her striking, you have a positive striker in Gloria de Paula, even in the losses. You have a slight positive Diana Belbita. 6.72 strikes landed per minute to 6.33 absorbed. That is insane. Decent takedown defense. Obviously, Liana Jojua, once Belbita got it to the mat, was able to submit her, but we'll see what happens coming up this weekend. In terms of my pick, I have Belbita ever so slightly, just based on that long frame, able to hold the range. But if I know anything about Gloria de Paula, she's able to crash distance very well. Obviously, the odds going like that throughout the week, it definitely does scare you away from a pick like that. So, again, this is one. It's a fight that's going to happen. I'm going to go with the pop and popcorn and enjoy it. Both of us going with Romania And Canada's own Diana Belbita out of the Stony Creek region. Muskoka Martial Arts own. You let us know down below who you have in the comments section in this fight at strawweight. And keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. As we always say, let's get into it.